as your testimony. Okay? What are you seeing? I've asked this morning if Andrew, our minister's here, would just come up and share God's work in his life, way back to the last few years, to now, and see how testimony can make a tremendous difference in our lives. Andrew, you want to come up? You want this mic? I didn't turn it on.
What's up, people? Figured I had to be like Gary, so I brought my drink up. It's just coffee, so it's not helping anything. I'm nervous a little bit, so I'll just get that out of the way right now, let you know that. I'm Andrew, if you don't know me, Andrew Brown, coolest guy you'll ever meet. No, I'm just kidding. I've been here for 5 years, 5 awesome years at Westlink. June 1st was my 5th year officially. I think it's funny, kind of like birthdays, like we always talk about, it's like now you're 18 or now you're 21 or now you're 20, I'm 27. And I'm like, isn't it like during the year though that you're like I'm always like, I'm in my 5th year of ministry is what I said before. So I'm in my 6th year of ministry right now is what I'll say. No, but like I said, I'm a little nervous because I'm going to share a lot this morning. And I don't always share in a public way. I don't always get to get up here. So bear with me. I try not to just, I typed a lot out, and I'm going to try not to just read it off the page.
Read it.
But I got to grow up in Texas. I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and had a preacher as a dad from day one, so I was always in the church, super fun. We moved out of Baton Rouge when I was about 2 years old, and then I grew up in Texas from there on out. I grew up in San Antonio for about the rest of my life after we lived in another small town for a couple of years. And that just informs that I was kind of in the church, and I was in a bigger city growing up. And it was a good time. And at times, for those that grow up in the church, you know, you're like, do we really have to go on Wednesday night and Sunday night and every event? But we did. Anthony can attest to that. So that's my brother back there, if you didn't know that. But yeah, so I gotta experience a lot from a young age. I would say I gotta be. If I was sick, again, Anthony can attest to this. If we were ever sick, we were just at the building, hanging out, annoying the other ministers and stuff that my dad worked with, and probably my dad. Now that I realize, you know, that whole thing. But and so yeah, I mean, I would say it was good. Like I had a good childhood. I had a good. Had 2 parents that loved on me and were a little bit annoying at times. But then I got to go to college. I got to decide, you know, my whole family had grown up going to ACU, Abilene Christian University. And they, you know, parents, grandparents met there, whatever. And then I was like, I'm going to Oklahoma Christian, so see you later. It was like not a big deal, but kind of a big deal. And I chose to go into youth ministry. I didn't know a whole lot of what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work with people. I always knew from a young age that I could work with people. And so I was like, I'll do youth ministry. We'll see how it goes. And over the next 4 years, I got to experience that God had given me that gift. I got to do some internships and work with students in a lot of different capacities. And, you know, it was a good few years. It was college. College is college. Those that have been, it was good. It was bad, you know, but also as much as at that time I thought it was my whole life, now it's like that was just 4 years, you know. I've been here for 5 years now. So yeah, coming out of college, I had gotten a lot of experience within ministry. I'd gotten a lot of experience, honestly, with myself. I had experienced God in some different ways. I had gotten baptized in high school, but I would say my college years were where I, you know, sort of first started to experience the Spirit in a different way and get to see that, you know, he's more real in life, I guess. I wasn't taught about him a whole lot growing up, so I just was like, yeah, like this is something, and God moves me in different ways through different people, and I was thankful for that in my college experience. But I got here to Westlink, and the way I got here was kind of funny. You know, Nick had just started his thoughts of transitioning out of youth ministry, Nick Miller, who was here before me, and it wasn't really known, but I knew the director of a camp who knew Nick, who knew that information. And so it was like, I think 2 weeks before I graduated college, I didn't have a job. And I sat down with this professor who is very connected in the youth ministry world, and he was like, let's just call Nick Miller right now. And so we did. And through that my name got to Gary, and then Gary gave me a phone call while I was working at Academy. I still remember that phone call. We talked about a lot of different things, and very easy to talk to, and kind of hit it off immediately. And then from there, it was a couple weeks, and I came here for my first visit, and it was good, I would say. I was nervous, but I had done a couple interviews at that point, and so I think I was definitely still kind of job mode was my mindset, at that age. Coming out of college, don't have a job. I'm like, how can I get a job? And so it was a good time, but then I went back, and we had some conversations, and Gary kind of made it clear that they might offer me the job. And then I was nervous, I would say about as nervous as I am up here right now of just like, can I do this? Can I be a minister? Like, that's a big deal. And I've seen my dad do it for over 20 years at that point. But it was a responsibility, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I was like, Dad, I'll just hang out and like do grad school, at OC. And it was like, I wasn't really going to do grad school. I was just going to like do a few hours or something probably. And luckily I had a lot of people in my life at that point that really empowered me, and they were like, hey, you can do this. Like, you need to do this. Westlink sounds like a great place for you, but more so I would say in my heart, I felt that. Like, I knew that Westlink was where I needed to be. I don't know how to say that exactly. But I think one of the defining moments for me as I chose to go into ministry or not go into ministry was my dad said, they're not hiring for you for the skills that you already have. They're hiring you for the person that they believe you can be for that church. And I was like, oh, wow. A lot of pressure with that too, kind of scary in that way of like, am I that person? And anyways, it all comes down to I came. And first time driving to Kansas was for my first interview, and then I came up here again for a second interview, and they offered me the job. And my mom said, the way my mom described it was kind of like a Jonah story. Not that this place is Nineveh by any means. Tornadoes, I mean, who knows? But it was more so that it was so clear. The mentors around me, the friends that I had, the people that I talked to here, it was so clear that I needed to go. But just as Jonah was scared and chose not to go, I was kind of like in that spot of I don't know. And so I did choose to go. And so within a month's time, that was all about a month, and I started June 1st. And it was chaos, but it was awesome. I got an amazing intern in Kara Kolar who saved that summer, I would say, because I came in June 1. We planned a whole calendar in the first day that I was here, and we hit the ground running. And I would not have been able to do that because I know nothing in Wichita. So thank you, Kara, for knowing all that stuff. But yeah, it was great. We hit the ground running, and I've done summers at that point, done a lot of internships. And it was easy per se, you might say. Like, I got energy, I'm ready, like plan the events, let's do this. But then we get through the summer, and there was a lot that happened throughout that anyways. But we get into August, and we end up, just having some hard things happen. And I'm just in this spot of like, what am I doing now? Like, I've never done the school year yet. So I'm like, what am I doing? And I remember that year was a lot of, how do I minister to students? Like, I think at first it was a lot of, okay, I got to get my lesson right, or I got to, make this look good, or I got to do that. And I learned more and more as I got into the school year, really, that it was just about loving on some students. The summer was fun because we had a lot of events that I got to plan, but the school year was funner. I'll say it. It's not a word, but I'll say it anyways. That, like, I got to go to all their events. Like, I plan maybe, 60 events during the summer, but I got to go to like 100 events during the school year or more of just kids playing in concerts or being in theater or whatever. And I realized every step of the way, every time I went to a concert or an event and got to talk to somebody, that, like, I'm just here to be with these students. Like, I don't have to know as much as I thought I had to know to do this. I don't have to be in a certain spot to be able to love here. In 2018, it was another fun summer. I had another awesome intern, Aaron Harrison. My brother moved in with me that July, so that was a good time. He probably would doubt that now. But at that time, we were excited to live together. And shout out to him. He's put up with a lot. And so we come into the fall of 2018, going into the spring of 2019, and I don't know, like I had moved into the spot in my heart that to do ministry is just to love people and walk with them through their lives, especially students, because like life is chaotic at that time, especially the students I had. There's a lot of, they had a lot of stuff going on. They already had a lot of pain in so many ways. And again, it was a lot of stuff that I hadn't gone through. It was things that I didn't understand. But in that moment, as I'm faced with not knowing what to say to a student, I just continued to know, well, just love them right here. Like, what did you need at this age? Or what do you need right now, Andrew? Like, you need somebody to love and accept you. And so I just continued to do that. And I think I got to a really good spot as I went to this youth ministry conference I go to every year in January 2019. And we just had a lot of, we have conversations with other youth ministers. And I had this moment of like, this is how I need to do ministry, is to love kids well. And then May 2019, May 10th, 2019, I would say life changed. And this is the hard part. So sorry I've just made you drag along till now. So bear with me. It was a moment that was difficult. And I know not just difficult for me, for my students, for the family here today, and for family that's not here today. We lost a person that was in our youth group, that was fully in our youth group, that was a light in our youth group. She wasn't always there, and and Bucky or Vaden, wasn't always able to be around. But something that great grandma said post funeral was, man, like life was given whenever Bucky was here, and always brought the energy. Always talked a little bit too much. But yeah, this student took their life May 10th, 2019, and it was a day where I wasn't even here. I was in Oklahoma City, and I called my dad immediately after I got the call because I said, like, I know I need prayers, and I know I'm going to need to process this, but I know I can't do that right now. And I share that because, I don't know, I have never really talked about this story in public because I never wanted to come off like my pain is more than somebody else's or anything like that, but pain is pain, y'all. And I remember distinctly, this is a moment I definitely haven't talked about, that literally one other person knows about, that even Gary Richardson I don't think knows about. I was at the Richardsons, and it was just like, and I like cried, man. Like I was on the ground. I literally was laying on the ground crying with the friend that I had there, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do? How do you do anything? And I did, like in that moment, in the next week, I would say, I didn't know. I was like, I might quit ministry. I don't know how to do this, because I had just got into the spot where my job as a minister is to love kids well. And then I felt like the job that I'm literally paid some money to do, I failed. And that's the guilt that I was in for at least 8 months, and probably a year and a half, that for 8 months I didn't process that. I'm lucky, again, to have an amazing intern who was here, because I chose to stay in ministry for the students, and we hit the ground running in that summer, and we made it an amazing summer. And our students, God, like, it's crazy to see what people can do in the midst of pain and how people can love in that place. And again, I was in a place where I'm just doing my best to take every day forward and move forward. But our students just rallied around each other. And I think Paige Edwards said it well. She was like, we don't really know how to process this, but we know that we can still be together, and that slowly we can laugh together. And that laughter is healing. And I did ministry, and I continued to ministry, but for myself personally, I didn't process anything for about 8 months. I got to January, that youth ministry conference I just talked about that I loved. And I had kind of just been going, and I got there, and for the first time, I cried about it again. I hadn't cried about it for that long, and I hadn't talked about it. And that was a step, I would say, that I started to again see life from, man, where are you at, Andrew? Like, where are you at emotionally? Where are you at personally? Where are you at with God personally? Because in ministry, one thing, if you haven't been in ministry, is you teach class every Sunday and every Wednesday. And I know the day that it was a weekend, so that next Sunday I did not teach class. I know that, but we just hung out because we didn't know what to do. But from there, I was still doing that, and I was in the Bible, and I was, it's a weird thing. You could talk to any ministers or people that have worked in a church, even volunteer basis. It's easy to get in that spot where you're feeling like you're doing your relationship with God, but you're really not, because you're just teaching out of it and that kind of stuff. And so 6 months go by from that moment in January that I finally open up, and some encouragement from some awesome people. COVID happened. I started doing some counseling, and I started to process this differently. I hate to say it, but COVID was a godsend, like for me, in terms of my emotions. Like, it's a terrible thing that happened, and that's why I hate to say that. For me, in that moment, I had no idea in 2020 how I was going to make it through another summer. And then everything went to Zoom, and everybody hated Zoom, but Andrew Brown was like, I can do Zoom. But it was hard, right? We all went through that, and we all went through different pain in those months, and different hardship. And for me, coming out of that, going through my counseling and trying to get in the spot where I don't blame it all on myself, and that I don't take all of the burden of I didn't love well enough, but that I understand that this student was loved by a lot of people, especially in this place. And that's good. And that pain of losing that person, and any pain that you have in this life, of losing somebody or going through something, it's there, and it's not necessarily going to leave. Like, I think for me, it was like, all right, now how do I get through this, right? That was me, Andrew Go mode. That was my dad and me. It was just like, let's organize this out and just structure it out, and then I'll be through it, and it'll be fine. Especially when I got into counseling, I was like, okay, we just need to fix this one thing, so do that for me. Obviously, anybody that knows anything is like, no, that's not how it works. But over the past 3 years, what I realized is that my deepest pain brought about my deepest empathy for other people. It made me look at death differently. It made me look at loss differently. It made me look at students who might be going through some of the similar things that this student was going through differently. I've realized in the past 3 years that loving people more is just understanding people more and their pain more, because we all have pain. If there's one thing we can all relate to, it's going through something that strikes you emotionally in a hard way that you don't know how to explain. And that right there, when we allow that to be out in a way that I haven't, and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, it brings us together. I lost a lot of hope 3 years ago. I can say that very bluntly. In that moment that I got that call, and over the next few weeks of trying to process anything at all, I didn't know how to make sense of God. I didn't know how to make sense of that pain. I didn't know how to make sense of any of it. In the past 3 years since then, I don't know if I've lost a lot of hope as well through different reasons. But the one thing that hasn't changed is, in the midst of all of that, love. And I know it's cliche. Like, I know that we say love a lot, especially from the pulpit. Gary, you preach way too much about it, dude. Come on. But it made me understand love in a way that I didn't even understand love before. And it made me understand that all that I want is love. All that I want is acceptance. All that I want is a friend to put their hand on my shoulder and say, I'm here for you, brother. Like, those are the things that got me over the past 3 years. And it helped me understand through countless people in my life, whether it's students or parents, siblings, my brother back there, coworkers, really my brothers and my sisters as well. Whatever it might be, that love is real. And it moves in this life. And in this room right now, I know so many people that love so well. But I also know for me that it's been hard, and I've gotten some energy back, and I've grown some, and I look at life a lot differently. The past 5 years has easily been the hardest but also best 5 years of my life to be here now and who I am now. But it's also led me to be in a spot that I know through conversations with many people that I love, and just being honest with myself about, where are you at, Andrew? Same thing I did or didn't do 3 years ago of, how are you feeling emotionally? Where are you at in terms of your energy and all these type of things? And so it's led me to a place where I'm having to step out of ministry. I'm having to move away from that role in my life, from, I would say, as I've seen my dad do for his entire life, the role of it being a job to be here in some way, I don't say that in a negative way, as the two other guys in this room who minister to this church know. It is hard, but it is life-giving to be a minister. But it is a job. And in some ways, with it being a job, it has been hard for me to fully heal from the grief I've gone through and other griefs that I haven't necessarily shared, that many in this room know about. Losses that we've all had in whatever ways we've had them. I'm in a place now that I know that I need to step away for a bit, at least, to heal. And I think that's been a hard thing to know for a little bit. It's been a scary thing to know in my heart. But at the same time, it has been something that I don't take in as a negative fully. I think in 2019 when I was going to quit ministry is because I didn't know if I could love people well. And I did it, and I thought I had failed at that. But I'm in a place now where I know that I love people well. And I know that for me, I have to leave for a bit, and I have to grow more, and I have to get some energy back to continue to do that. And luckily, I've been so blessed to have some doors open. I've had somebody that has impacted me, has empowered me to go and do a master's in social work. And so that is my focus now over these next couple of years. I'm hoping to get in the fall. Shout out to WSU if you want to hook me up. But it kind of has come up very abruptly, but it has come up in the way that so many things in my life have come up. Obvious. And it's either coincidence or it's something more. And so as I said, I don't know I don't know at times about God. I'll be real. I don't know if he's real or not. But what I do know is the love that I felt from so many in this room. I know the love that I felt from, again, my family in the midst of my doubt and my pain. I know the love that I felt from students and coworkers, as I said before. And as I see this door open to do a master's in social work, it is just as obvious as that love is to me. Like I said, when I first came to Westlink, I was in a spot of like, okay, there's the door, you just got to walk through it. And in some ways I was shoved through it, so that's okay. But I chose to take that step. And I'm in a spot now where I know that this is the door I have to walk through, and it's a scary door to walk through. And I don't know what the future holds. But what I do know is that this family is real to me here. The people in this room, the people online, the people that will watch this video later maybe. The family that I have in this room and in this city is my family, and it's my home. And that's become apparent. It's a place in my heart forever, and I'm lucky to have an opportunity to stay here for a couple of years at least. And so with that news of me stepping down from this role as a job, as a minister here at this church, I want you to know I'm still going to be a member here. I'm going to be a part of this body, and I'll be gone for a little bit. August 7th is my last official day. Don't worry. You're like, Andrew's blindsiding us with this? I'm not even going to get to make you cry or talk to you or give you a hug? No, don't worry. You got 2 weeks to guilt trip me not to go, but I'm just kidding. No, I'll be here, and we're going to try to, if we're looking for tech people to do some of the tech and take over some different things, and Gary will announce some of that. But ultimately just know that I'm going to take a hiatus, I would say, but I'll be here and I'll be in your lives. Like if you want to have conversations, like don't think that I'm gone. In whatever way that is that I'm in your life. I know one of our students, I was telling Gary, Emma Hauk, she's okay, maybe that I say this, who knows. But we were talking about a lot on Wednesday and about loss in her life and just like how hard that is and how that doesn't go away. And then I shared this information with her. And it was so cool because I was a little nervous, just like I was nervous today to share just my life with y'all, but also this moment. And she just said, okay. She's like, so what? And I'm like, what the heck? But what she meant by that is, like, I know that you care about me, Andrew. Like that, I know that doesn't change. And so I hope that will be y'all as well. I hope the people in this room will know, like, okay, you're leaving, you're not though. Like you're stepping out of a role, you're stepping out of a job, but the heart that I have for the people in here and for my family will never change. So I appreciate y'all's time today, and I appreciate the moments over the past 5 years that I've been impacted by so many. And again, I hope that as whatever you hear out of my testimony, there's a lot. There's a lot more I could have said. But it's that you can always hold on to love. You can always hold on to what you're needing in life. Because deep down, whether it's a pain of loss or a pain of trauma or a pain of whatever it is that you've gone through, that's what we're seeking. And so, like I get it. Sometimes God doesn't feel real. Sometimes you don't know if he is. But love and the way that impacts our life, that means something. And either it's a coincidence or it's something more. And that's where I'm at. And so I hope we can all be in that place and continue to love well and continue to do what I believe Westlink is doing so amazing right now, which is taking some steps to continue to do that. So thank you all for your time this morning. Love you very much.